to welcome the players. We begin with a true legend of the sport with 31 career ranking titles. He's a 4-time world champion and the record-breaking 5-time Welsh Open winner. Welcome the Wizard of Wishaw, John Higgins. The former UK and Masters champion. This season he's already won the shootout and champion of champions, the pistol, Mark Allen.
Great crowd, and what a day they have to enjoy here at Venue Cymru. Our first quarter-final then about to get underway of this year's Welsh Open, and time to introduce our commentary team of Neil Foles, and good afternoon to Philip Studd.
Thank you, Ian. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, good.
A very good afternoon. As snooker showdowns go, this is top of the range. John Higgins, 4 times world champion, against the player of last season, Mark Allen. One of the great modern rivalries this has become, with a place in the Welsh Open semi-finals at stake over the best of 9 frames. And it's Allen to get us underway, and this is their 4th meeting this season alone. Allen has won a couple of them, including at the Masters, and on his way to that very dominant performance he produced over the week at the Champion of Champions, which he won, of course, with something to spare. But John Higgins was able to get the better of Allen in their most recent meeting just a couple of weeks ago at the German Masters, and as has been mentioned, he seems to be playing extremely well right now, so a fascinating match in the offing. And for Higgins this weekend, Neil, the challenge is to end that 3-year ranking title drought.
Indeed, and I doubt anything else but lifting up that wonderful slate trophy at the end will suffice, because he's been into the latter stages of so many events. Until he gets another one, I don't think he'll be back, or we'll be saying that he's back to his best. He's just a very difficult player to beat, of course. But, there is a strong argument the winner of the event might come from this match. The world champions in the bottom half, and other players are in it too, but this match-up is 2 of the most likely winners locking horns.
The winner will face either Gary Wilson or Anthony McGill. They feature in our quarter-final this evening on table 2 from 7 o'clock UK time. And you'll be able to watch that quarter-final on Discovery Plus. The match to follow this one, Dominic Dale. What a week he's having. His first ranking quarter-final since the Turkish Masters a couple of years ago against Elliot Slesser, who, as Jimmy mentioned, has got a couple of big wins over Ronnie O'Sullivan on his CV. And on table 1 this evening from 7, it's Luca Brissell, a rejuvenated Luca Brissell against. Packed house, but that's been the case from ball 1 on day 1 here at Venue Cymru. This tournament has always been so well supported. It has a rich history. The 3rd longest running ranking event after the World and UK Championships dates back to 1992. This is the 33rd edition, and of course John Higgins has won more than anyone else with 5 titles.
Already a safety battle between this pair. There should be, I would think, quite a bit of that. Certainly the chances won't be frequent, I think, for either player. John has put Mark in a spot of trouble here. Looking to just come thin off of the red by the pink, I would think. Maybe the one below it. No, there's that one. But the level of safety at the highest level now is, it's right up there with as good as we've seen. Everyone can play very specific and strategic safety shots now. Because if he hits the blue, Allen's in a spot of bother, so I think that's what he'll play.
4-1, Ryan Day 4-1, but last night was a different story. He had to come from 3-1 behind to win a decider against Matt Selt, who had a chance in that deciding frame. He didn't land nicely on the final yellow, missed it, and in the end Higgins won on the blue. So close shave, but he
playing on 3 cushions. He did nominate that one. He's going the other way.
Foul, a miss.
I'm surprised he played in that.
John Higgins
one
won, Mark Allen 5.
Quite honestly. And I don't suppose Mark Allen can have it put back, really, because John might get the shot and snooker him this time.
Back.
It's a risk, I think this is. I think this is a definite risk.
Just bring it off the yellow, please.
Because he might end up in a snooker of his own. In the end, John will hit the blue and then Mark won't have a shot.
Colin Humphreys, our referee for this one. The overall head-to-head is edged by Mark Allen, 12 victories to 10.
Yeah. Thank you.
And they played on all the biggest stages: World Championship, UK Championship, Masters.
Okay, yeah. Mark, thank you. Blue again.
It's a strange shot this is, I think.
Slightly more in.
Because he's trying to hit the blue, but it appears that other balls are in the way of one cushion, to me.
Blue. Blue ball.
Must have a route planned. Let's see. I don't understand why he's playing the blue from that way.
Foul, a miss. Mark Allen 5.
Looks like he sort of just mouthed there to Colin Humphreys that he tends to play, so no miss accepted.
Aside from that act of escapology against Chow Yupeng, it's been very much plain sailing for Mark Allen as he misses the long red quite thick to give Higgins a chance. One frame in his last 3 matches, including a very straightforward victory over a completely out of sorts Robbie Williams, owner of the top break of 146 last night.
One.
A good shot that from Higgins. It was not a natural to come round. He had to go lower on the cue ball to make the ball swing wider. And has he got now the shot, the red above the black, pot it and move the one to the right of the black.
7. Eight.
It's a measure of the ambition
15.
that John Higgins still has, and indeed the passion that he still has for this sport, that even at this stage of his career, having won 31 ranking titles, 4 world championships, nothing left to prove, that he's still looking for something new, an extra edge to his game in the form of
60.
trying to get some help for the first time in his illustrious career on the mental side of things, which he told Michael Holt he's quite enjoying. He's at the start of the process, but he's looking forward to seeing how it plays out. Trying to rid himself of those negative thoughts, as he put it, that have dogged him a little in the last couple of seasons, when he's come so close so often to winning more titles, but hasn't quite been able to cross the line. Of course, he was engaged in 5 finals a couple of seasons ago and ended up on the losing side each time. In 3 of those, he was in front, within a frame of victory. And he's had some near misses again this season at the sharp end of tournaments, but he's kept plugging away, and, well, perhaps this will be the weekend when he cracks the code again. But he's going to have to play well to make it happen.
Well, didn't quite get on this next colour as he would have hoped. This is not part of the plan, using the long stuff. So for that reason, things have escalated slightly, and he's marginally out of position again. I'm sure he can put it right, but clearly this is not where he needed the cue ball.
26.
I think 3 or 4 shots ago, I would have been surprised to see him here. Mark Allen patiently waiting. Looks like he can just put it and run around the back of the black and take the black into it.
Seven.
Yeah, it was just a natural in the end, but he's a little straight on the black now, so just got to make an effort to get on the red to follow this black. I was wondering if he'd come around and look at those 2 reds. Don't know if they are a plant to the right middle.
$34.
It must be tight. I mean, the red by the pink, there must be just enough of the red available, but it's a close call. Pink's not quite in the way, it seems.
$35.
Been flicking the pink. Now all of a sudden, things have got awkward again, and he's never been in complete control in this whole break. That's pretty good. Again, red down the right cushion. originally would not have been on his radar.
Yeah.
But it's all he's left with. And I think gently, he'll get every chance that the pocket will accept the ball. It's only when you hit these with a bit of pace attached, then they can stay out.
Very nicely done. Those are never easy, particularly with extensions on cue and rest, and Higgins could not have struck that any more sweetly.
Yeah, it looks at the scores, but it's quite a long way to go. It's been a very hard fought break. Feels like he's made about 80 here. But his lead is only 40 points, so not anywhere near the winning line. Well, he's come the perfect angle here to have a choice of any of those three balls up the table. Brown or yellow would bring him into the chance to flick the reds into play.
Brown ball.
Came around and thought it was a plant. Interesting.
54.
Yeah. It's the right-hand pair of reds from that camera view we saw beyond the pocket.
Mark Allen, sitting in his chair, might be reflecting now on his decision not to get John Higgins to play again after he'd missed the blue a couple of times. He chose instead to take on the long red, missed it by a margin, and this is the result.
Yeah, I agree with you. At the time, if John had played the three-cushion escape and missed, then I got a feeling that Mark Allen would have had to play it. But the way he was coming in from seemingly with the brown in the way, maybe there was an argument to let him have another couple of cracks at it, getting out of it. It was a self-inflicted snooker in the first place. Anyway, this has now become a very effective break because there's been a lot of difficult shots in it and a lot of positional recoveries.
62.
But you still need red high-value colour and preferably another red after that.
John Higgins, 62.
Certainly not the most awkward ball of the break, but on this occasion Higgins doesn't negotiate the red, so a chance for Allen to get back into it. Still plenty of points there. It was a very good break from John Higgins, but 53 the margin, still 67 available.
One. 8. No.
Very slight angle here. Good shot that. He's done well. It cuts back. Of course, he was worried about pushing it too far.
16.
It's a very neat shot. Didn't want to hit the other red first in particular. Put the deficit 37 points. Suggests he's going to have to do well with this visit to win the frame. Here we're heading down towards the yellow and blue here if he's not careful. Which is not really what he wanted,
17.
but he couldn't do anything to change that angle. He had to play the shot he did. Now, the next shot, there's quite a lot resting on. If he takes the brown to middle, that is, cueing awkwardly.
$17. Mark Allen.
I think he's a little unlucky there. It was a good cannon. Then on the red, he had no real way of stopping the cue ball heading towards an area on the table he didn't want, and that pressurised the shot on the brown.
And this is frame ball for Higgins.
One.
So the red that he missed just now into the opposite corner, not proving significant. Barring snookers anyway. This black should make sure.
$8.
3 of them now required by Allen.
John Higgins. 8.
Yeah, with one red left, he has to carry on for the hope of a snooker and a free ball and all of the things we always speak about. But we don't often see put into practice.
You'll have heard Mark Allen talk this week about the state of his game at the moment, and he's been quite disparaging, actually, saying he feels he's, in his words, a million miles away from playing his best. But, of course, what he has been able to cultivate in the last couple of seasons when he's had a lot of success is win ugly, win when he's not playing well. He's become very adept at that. Changed tactics, played the percentages more often. That's a typical John Higgins safety shot. Keep the pressure on, even though it's this man who needs the snookers. And although he's not been at his best this season, he's still been able to win 2 tournaments. The shootout, which was significant because it got him into the World Grand Prix, and the Champion of Champions, where he was outstanding. I think a world of pain is coming again very shortly.
Yeah, I mean, this is the most cast-iron snooker you could ever see that he's about to be put in, already 44 behind. So probably a hit and hope here, and hit it, hope to get a snooker back. Can't really do anything else. Frame is virtually over. Well, you'll settle for that.
Well, that certainly put paid to a very satisfactory opening frame for John Higgins. Things were going a little wrong early on when he was trying to hit the blue without success, but he was afforded a way back in after Alan missed the long red, and he carved out a fine break of 62. Not quite a frame-winning one, but he's added the finishing touches since, and so it's the record 5 times Welsh Open champion John Higgins off the mark first. He leads 1-0.
There to get onto the red to the left of the black ball, but as you can see, he's not on anything very easily. The top red goes. As a right-hander, he could lean across and knock it in, but it's difficult and miles away from what he hoped for. They've got all the gadgets now, haven't they, players? Screwing something onto something else before it even goes on the cue.
Reminds me of Day of the Jackal.
Interesting, yeah. Interesting comparison. Good shot, that. His shot on the black, I have to say, this has been something of John's nemesis, this shot, a little bit in the last couple of years. This high black from that side into the left corner. Against this very opponent, he missed one of these in Belfast, when John was about to lift the title. Not this time. Terrific. Better shot than it looked.
$22. $23.
Yeah, he's just looking at a few things here. I mean, it appears he can play on is the one up the table. He had to look to see if it will go into the yellow pocket just then.
Just give me a second, please, John.
Colin Humphrey's got a... and all the others are occupied. Unless you just don't put it on the table at all, that's where it has to go.
I think the jury's still out as to exactly where the fabled golden ball is going to go on the table for the upcoming Saudi Arabia Invitational.
Yeah, I'll leave that to someone else because it seems a
29.
bit of conjecture as to what he's going to be doing. I'm sure there'll be a moment when that'll all be announced. He's playing onto the blue to get into the bunch. Next 2 shots.
30.
Looks in good concentration, John. I'll say that for him. And I never really doubted that side of his game, but just needs a bit of luck here. Hopefully not to knock a red into the pocket. Very nice. That's a lovely split because he's pushed out 4 reds and he kept control of the cue ball there. It's not moved greatly from the centre of the table.
35.
Terrific shot. Might well be a frame winner. And aside from the red that he missed at the back end of that break of 62, he's looked very sharp, Higgins, so far.
Just occasionally in the last couple of seasons, and certainly don't want to make it happen here. I'm not looking to do that, but he has inexplicably missed something at this kind of point and thrown away a lot of the good work that he's done to get here. Get the feeling he'll go on here from this position, however. But like frame 1,
44.
it's been a hard-earned break, but there's plenty more that's required.
Of course, he had the ideal preparation as Mark Allen tries to remain in his little mental bubble there. In the Championship League last week, Higgins, when he was in prolific scoring form, made the 13th of his career to become the oldest player to make one in professional competition. 17 centuries in all in 6 days. So he was well and truly in the groove when he arrived here in Llandudno, but of course there's a world of difference between the Championship League and producing the goods on the match table here at a big event like this against one of the top players. So far he is.
$59. $60.
Not the worst split. And interestingly hit the pink there to get into the bunch rather than the reds at each side of it. Either side of it now. Another red. He can retreat up the table and take in this as it's frame ball. Cleverly played, I think. Yes, he'd like to keep the break alive, but whatever happens, once that red has gone in, he's in a very strong position to go 2-0 up. good stuff from John Higgins, this, isn't it? It's been a hard break. And like I said earlier, he looks very focused
70.
At the table.
71.
Well, the omens and the signs. Higgins looking pretty good in these early stages. Frame is 1, barring snookers. If he were to miss now, I can't imagine that Mark would want to carry on with the quest for 17 points he has to make up in penalties. But it won't matter now.
The frame already won, but that was still excellent
77.
cueing from Higgins, and the chance now to further embellish his century tally. He's already made 46 this season. He's just 13 shy of the magical 1,000 for his career.
'83. '84. '89.
Mark Allen has had a couple of half chances, not much more than that.
90.
Well, of all those centuries that he's made this season that you spoke about, I mean, this would be up there with some of the better ones.
96.
And because of that Mark Allen miss, he's been sitting down watching this ever since. It's been a very good break, but there's been a lot of thought as to go into a number of the shots.
Clinical stuff from the 5-times champion who won his first Welsh Open 24 years ago, and his most recent in 2018, I should say, when he beat Barry Hawkins.
109.
There's something about the Welsh Open that clearly agrees with John Higgins, and he's going very nicely again in his bid for an 84th ranking semi-final.
113. 118. 124.
Really top-class stuff, this from Higgins. He looks somewhere back to his absolute best.
131.
Immaculate. A total clearance of 124 from the 4-times champion of the world, Mark Allen, with plenty to ponder. It's been all John Higgins thus far. He now leads 2-0. A lot of his finest wins during this period of sustained success that he's enjoyed have been from losing positions, not least the UK Championship last season when he was in a world of trouble at 6-1 down to Ding and only lost one more frame in that final. But he'll be very conscious of how well Higgins has been cueing in the last couple of frames. 62 and 131. So Allen will be keyed up to produce the goods in this one if he gets the chance.
that's the best of the lot. That was sublime cueing. We saw that there was a very slight angle on this, but he's crunched it in. And very quickly playing on the red that's just to the right of the black.
6.
That will free up the black, of course, and it could be off and running again here.
Seven. 14. 15.
Very slight angle, I think. He just managed to get top side of the blue. Played with screw and left-hand reverse side.
20.
So he could take the cue ball lower onto this bottom red. Interesting, because the first two frames, you know, he was given chances, and that led to him making the breaks. This time, he's absolutely screamed along red into the left corner with brilliant cueing and seemingly gaining confidence all the time. Well, he would miss that, wouldn't he? Now I've said that, goodness me. Sorry, John.
John Higgins, 21.
And you made the point earlier that it is the odd lapse like this that has been a problem for Higgins in the last couple of years or so. The body language tells you how infuriated he is to have given up that chance which he created with that wonderful long red that he knocked in. So, an unexpected lifeline for Mark Allen and the chance to get involved in this quarter-final.
Well,
yeah, I mean, it's a big moment. I put the curse on him and apologise, but he was trying to get the cue ball up high onto a red, and the angle on the black was a bit straighter than that. Easy mistake to make.
Eight. Nine. 16. $17.
Not sure what the plan was there.
20.
Little nudge, which is not really going to hurt that much because the break is over. Well, of course, he can pop this red to middle. Very difficult, though. Oh, great shot. The break is not over. That's a magnificent recovery shot. The shot before was a bit of a surprising one for the pass now. Very aggressive.
$32.
Seen a few shots miss in the middle of pockets, especially that left middle, and generally they hold their line on these sort of shots. I think there's an example of what I'm saying. There's no sign of it dropping down from left to right with any nap. There's not really much on these tables, but it almost went up slightly. So this is an important contribution. Oh, goodness. Oh. This time it is over.
40.
And that was the shot that John missed, but it's not proven as costly as it might have done. He actually mentioned last night after his win, Mark Allen, that he was a little surprised with one or two of his own positional shots, how he wasn't quite as pinpoint as usual with those, and there was another example. Obviously tried to screw him behind that red, but not land on top of it.
Mark Allen, 40.
And had he done so, he would have been firm favourite to cut the lead to one frame. So this third frame now becomes very big. Both players have had chances. Higgins with the surprising error on the black, but not really punished in the way perhaps he should have been.
Don't think he played it like that. I'm sure that was not quite how he intended to get back down the table. He looked very anxious in running. Hit it a bit thicker than he intended. So now John, after he's missed a black off the spot, which might have just dented his confidence, but this is a long pot, which these sort of shots he's been knocking in this week. It's just a question of whether he's still thinking about the last mistake.
Has he covered that red to the centre pocket?
Well, the answer was yes and no. Because he had. It was a good swerve, that.
Well,
After he locate the potting angle, hitting the red, of course, never a problem. He'd be more than happy with that. Colin Humphries has got to put it back in behind its own spot, but don't think that'll affect Mark too much on this one. He'll be moving those balls anyway after he's played the next shot.
thank you. 7. Eight.
That's cleverly done. Tried exactly that. Be able to just knock the red off the pink spot now to tidy things up. Another clever shot. That's without any applause, but it was very nicely controlled. And now he set up the table
14.
for a frame-winning chance.
$15.
He'd been largely shut out in the first couple of frames. He had a chance early in the second, Mr. Red. But it was looking likely to be 3-0. Oh, hang on. That was not clean.
No. And of course, from that side angle, you really do see that shot even better. From
20.
where we're looking now, might have been less obvious that it was in doubt, but it certainly was.
Higgins reflecting on that miss black when he was going so nicely. Made the superb century clearance in the frame before.
$21.
So 40 the difference. The brown would be enough to leave Higgins requiring a snooker.
Nice shot. Didn't exactly play behind the red.
25.
But as Philip said, it was all about the brown going in. But this red seals the frame. Very good dropping shots in, isn't he?
26.
Slowly like that. Don't know whether John would even carry on. Difference is 45. Mark is going to be nailing colours down as well in a minute. That's what he's done here. No pot attempted.
Mark Allen, 26, and a frame.
And John Higgins concedes. So Mark Allen has half the deficit. Higgins with some cause for regret that he couldn't make it 3-0, missing the black out of the blue. And Mark Allen closes to 2-1. A vital intervention from Mark Allen.
Thank you.
There was some danger he was going to fall 3-0 behind, and then John Higgins is in complete control and feeling great. But Higgins perhaps with cause now to dwell on that black that he missed, with Allen managing to come back into the frame and halve the deficit with this, the final frame before the interval, which of course we now have because it's the best of 9 as opposed to the best of 7 throughout the week to date, for a place in the semi-finals and a meeting with either Gary Wilson or Anthony McGill. They're in action on table 2 this evening from 7 o'clock UK time. Very nice from Mark Allen, beautifully floated in.
Really great shot, isn't it? I mean, as you say, floats it in, finishes on the black. Sometimes players will knock that in and send the cue ball to the black cushion almost, because I don't think the pot's going to go in.
Eight.
Now, he's on a couple of reds, but neither are particularly easy. Reds to either middle pocket. That one doesn't go into the end. It'll go into the middle. I think the right hand red to right middle is the most likely. But I don't think he likes anything really. Looking at all other options. Problem with this red he's taking on, he leaves the red to the left of it if it doesn't go in.
Mark Allen, 8. One. Just check that, John.
Is just making sure there is space for the blue on its own spot.
Yes. 6. Seven.
Well, he'd like to be able to pot that red by the blue. I think from just about where he is, you can see enough of the red.
Twelve. 15. $16. Yeah, I'll have to use them up.
Something on the black ball, and I think it was on its spot anyway, but Colin Humphreys using his marker.
$23. $24.
Well, this would be the perfect antidote to the frustration of missing the black, and with it, the chance of a 3-0 lead if Higgins could convert this chance to something frame-winning. Take a 3-1 interval lead. He's certainly been the better player so far, but he's still to confirm that in terms of the scoreboard.
31.
Yes, that's true, and also with Mike, Mark Allen's got his own things to think about. He missed that red to middle early in this frame, having not got the best of split. So, John, it's easy to focus when you're out there on your own mistakes and how they cost you, but his opponent is feeling something like that. The red to middle was not easy. But having missed it, he's watched ever since his opponent.
$32.
All good except for the cue ball, as we often see it just straight from that shot. And then it's Red's
39.
pot to the left corner here. Quite hard to keep the break going with an easy one. So this red, but certainly taking the cue ball up and away a little bit from the action. Just if you're an opponent thinking, well, maybe John's broken down, end of break, he knocks in those half chances to keep it going.
It was an excellent pot, wasn't it? Could have been a kinder kiss, though, on his baulk colour.
Bravo. John Higgins, 40.
Tried a 2 in one shot and didn't really get either part of it. Brown not entirely safe. Cue ball not behind the yellow. And it would have been an interesting snooker because Mark Allen would have been in trouble with all of the target reds in the centre of the table, nowhere to hide the cue ball. Plenty of danger in this long red, and I think John, in the back of his mind, knows it. Cue ball heading out towards the middle of the table somewhat, whether he pots it or not. why he played at that pace. Unfortunately, the cue ball still went there because he overcut it. Now, all of a sudden, a little rueful smile, but John has really been the better player, but you get the feeling that with this chance, they might still square. Still got to do this, of course, but it is a good chance now.
Eight.
I think it's fair to say it would be a major result for Mark Allen, who's not really fired yet. If he could emerge unscathed from this mini session at 2 each, he'd be thrilled with that. Start again on the other half. Still got to make it happen.
Yeah, I don't think he was all that delighted with the shot before that he played, Mark Allen.
No.
But he recovered it well. Not every one of his little close-up shots today have worked out as well as
16.
they normally do, but that was a nice one.
$17.
So the deficit now was just a handful
24.
of points. Single figures.
$25.
Interesting point here. He could take 3 red, blacks and the yellow.
32.
And that would be too many for John Higgins. And even if he hasn't worked that out yet, which I'm sure he has, it's not as if he can play on the blue or pink, so he just carry on and see where it takes him. But there's a chance there'll be too many in it if he takes the blacks with these reds.
$40.
To be honest, John should have done better with that shot. He'd probably be the first to say it.
41. $48.
Higgins missed the black in the third frame when he was looking good for 3-0. And he tried to
49.
roll the red in to the right corner. In this frame, it didn't work out, and it's looking for all the world as though Mark Allen
56.
is going to level this match at the break.
$58.
Applause for frame ball. 26 the difference with 25 on the table.
Yeah, all because he took reds and blacks, but he didn't even try and get on the green there. A little surprised by that, but there's nothing wrong with the shot he has played.
Mark Allen, 58.
So that was a very good contribution from the chance that John Higgins left him. It's not helping his cause, already requiring a snooker, now a couple, but John won't be giving up too much because, of course, with the blue and pink as they are, if John ever got a chance to take green and brown now, he'd get a snooker comfortably on the blue. So he's still hanging on in the frame. Mark trying to split them two up. That's a clever shot. That's scuppered the opportunity that John might have had. Clever stuff.
Three. John Higgins, 3.
Maybe John can cut this in. Well, there's not much else he can do with it but try and cut it in. There's the tiniest little edge available to him. So 1-2 snooker to tie now is the equation with the 5-point penalty if John gets it.
John Higgins, 4.
I think that John will be hopeful that where the black ended up after he cut the brown in, it's given him a fair option to get a snooker. He's not in the worst place up there. Sneak the mind. So that's keeping his dreams of snatching the frame back alive, because really felt that he got in with a chance of winning it already, John. Previous frame, we know that he missed a bad black when he was going ever so well. So if ended up 2-2, I think the man who's playing his shot in a moment will be absolutely miles the happier.
Alan knows only too well how adept he is at John Higgins' abilities to get snooker. So he won't be taking anything for granted here.
Oh, it's a brilliant shot. Absolutely brilliant, because it's not really a conventional way of getting a snooker. He just thought one up there. And with that blue just away from the cushion, you can definitely miss this. He's not even really certain as to which way he goes, all because of this shot. Very fine snookering effort. Will he get the points? Eminently missable, this. Bang on.
Two great shots, one from Higgins to lay the snooker. Call as you like, Mark Allen with the escape.
More trouble.
Allen would have missed the blue, remember. Higgins could then tie the frame and force a respotted black. Not quite as full on this time, but he managed to brush the blue nonetheless.
These are all good efforts. This time I wonder if he can swerve it. Yeah, it's a snooker, but a little bit of left-hand side on the ball, queuing down. For the moment, you feel that he's weathered the storm, because it would be a really difficult shot to get the snooker from here. So this time Allen with a chance to kill this frame off by knocking the blue in. But no joy, so there's still some jeopardy here for Allen, given the position of that black, as Neil mentioned. We've already seen Higgins lay a couple of snookers behind it. One really telling one, and this frame and it would have a very different complexion. Well, surely this time Mark Allen will
put this frame to bed and complete what will be for him a very satisfactory mini session, given he was 2-0 behind.
Yeah, John got the double kiss there on that attempt, and that was enough.
And so to the midway point of the first quarter-final here at the Welsh Open, and there's nothing to choose. John Higgins made all the running early on total clearance, but Mark Allen has clawed his way back into contention, and so it's all to play for each. Perfectly poised then for the second half of this intriguing quarter-final match. Two snooker heavyweights going toe-to-toe once again, and for the fourth time this season. Two apiece. Mark Allen getting us back underway. He surely will be the happier of the two, given that he was 2-0 behind. It goes without saying. And John Higgins did miss a couple of very important balls. The black in the third frame when he was threatening 3-0, and then in attempting to roll a long red in to the right corner, he overcut it. And Allen got his opportunity to share the spoils. So it's now a best of 5 for a place in the last 4 here in Llandudno. But Higgins has certainly been queuing well again. 62 in the first frame, 131. Quite brilliant break in the second. Allen was the victor this season in the Champion of Champions semi-final, on his way to that title, and in the first round of the Masters in a decider. Higgins gaining some measure of revenge by beating Allen in the recent German Masters 5-2, but here's a chance for the pistol. He's just undercut it though.
Yeah, just not quite. And I mean, it's a funny old game, isn't it, snooker, when you think it's 2-2 and yet one player will be happier than the other one with the scores as you started. But I think clearly before that shot anyway, Mark Allen would have been the more buoyant of the two. So John's got to go again here from scratch, which he's very capable of doing.
And this is precisely where the recent work that Higgins has been putting in for the first time in his career on the mental side of things becomes more significant, because he has talked himself about negative feelings that have affected him when one or two balls that he would have potted in the past have gone astray, and matches that he had in the palm of his hand seemingly have got away from him. No. I'm sure he will be a little irked to only have 2 of the 4 frames so far, given the start he made, but it's about remaining positive. He knows he's playing well. It's about accepting that sometimes things do go wrong and not allowing yourself to dwell on that, which of course is much easier said than done, but it's only in the last few seasons that Higgins has been afflicted by what Clive Everton used to call clincher's disease. He's a serial winner. He's a 31-time ranking top. It's just a case of getting that mindset back again at this latish stage of his career. Remember, he turns in May. And he's been a professional, John Higgins, for as long as this tournament has been staged.
70.
He's also won it more times than anyone else, and not for the first time today, a terrific split.
Yeah, very good split. And of course, you know, everybody misses balls. You know, he missed a black off the spot. It's not a crime. There's not a player in the world who's not done that. And the sort of shot you would pot 49 times out of 50, you'll miss that other time. It's just that in the case of John, he's been so reliable for so long. The odd shot does creep in, and he can't quite get his head round it, whereas mere mortals are more used to missing shots. But as I say, he'll regroup, and he's got this early in frame 5, which helps.
A The last time he did win a ranking title, almost exactly 3 years ago,
22.
he was unplayable. Remember, Mark Selby scored just 7 points in their best of 11 frame match in the Players' Championship in 2021. He beat Ronnie O'Sullivan 10-3 in the final.
23.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could see that sort of snooker played more than once. I was going to say in a lifetime, but, you know, maybe a decade or two. It was everything he did was right. He had the combination of granite-like safety. I mean, he really did just pin everybody to the cushion and say, just draw a chair up the other end. And then when they made a mistake, he would win the frame.
29.
It was incredible that week. Maybe from then he couldn't do anything but not play as well as that for a while. But it kind of reminded everyone what he was capable of.
And of course, he'll be back in that tournament next week in Telford. He's 11th on the one-year list, Higgins. He's got no worries at all when it comes to ranking points this season. He's been very consistent. It's just the trophy that's proved elusive, but who knows, that could change this weekend.
37.
Exploring the possibility of a plant there to the same pocket as he's about to take this next pot into.
$38.
I think maybe this early opportunity is just what he needed, actually, to get himself back on the horse, back playing. Chance to get his lead back. That's probably as good as it gets, his position on this red. You don't want to be straight.
45.
And he's got an angle to basically drop it in.
Tomorrow, of course, we'll be down to the single table here at Venue Cymru for the semi-finals. We've got 2 quarter-finals to be played concurrently this evening, simultaneously, from 7 o'clock. Table 1, Luca Brissell, Martin O'Donnell, who has beaten Brissell in their 3 previous meetings. And Gary Wilson and Anthony McGill, they'll be on Discovery Plus on Table 2.
Yes, I mean, that's all to come. And just a quick word on O'Donnell. He played 2 very gruelling matches
53.
yesterday. And they finished very late in the day as well against Anthony Hamilton and Marco Fu. He's a pretty resilient character, so I wouldn't rule out a chance
54.
that he could upset the world champion there. Anyway, that's all to look forward to. This still getting very interesting.
$61. $62.
Mark Allen took on the long red at the start of this frame, hit it just a little too thick, and this is the result. This is exactly what Higgins would have been looking for.
68.
After the interval, having had 15 minutes to digest what might have been.
69.
He's going to be back into the lead, barring snookers, with 67 remaining. Certainly want this black in as well, though.
$76.
I thought
John Higgins,
maybe he thought there was a possible
76.
plant on there. Does he want to carry on? That's the question. And it seems that he is going to carry on, understandably.
One.
I think, judging by the scowl on his face, I don't really think he wanted to carry on. But you sometimes feel obliged to, just because there is a glimmer of hope you could steal a frame from nowhere. If you don't try, you don't get. Taking it down to 1 red and looking for the free ball scenario that we always
6.
talk about.
Seven.
Alan's going for his 11th ranking title this weekend.
14.
His best ever run here at the Welsh was a semi-final appearance. That was back in 2016 when he lost to Neil Robertson.
Cheers. 15. Two. 23.
So here's the point where, following this black, he'll be trying to get a fiendish snooker arranged. So 11 points to make up, which, you know, can be done
30.
in one fell swoop, actually. You know, a snooker and all would be a game changer. But you've got to get someone like John Higgins to miss. That's one of the problems. There's always the perfect shot, though, in there, where you put your opponent in the virtually impossible position and they leave the free ball as well. So it's always worth a stab. Although that, not quite the perfect shot,
Mark Allen,
has
30.
to be said. Quite interesting, though, that Mark Allen put that red up virtually in the D, which means there's a lot of possible balls that you can get a free ball behind if you do get the snooker. You know, obstacles in the way. I would expect him to hit this, but he's still a good effort. Because that's the snag about playing it slowly, which he had to do. He had no choice, but then you leave yourself in a position where another snooker is very possible here. Free ball is not really an option, should he miss this. Seems unlikely he'd get one anyway. Now the brown is in a very interesting position for Mark Allen to try and get the cue ball behind at some point. It's a good place for getting snookers. Immediately he makes that effort.
3 snookers required. But while the red is on the table, with that possibility of a free ball, there is still some hope for Allen, albeit that he's up against one of the most tactically astute players in the game's history, John Higgins.
Few laughs between the two of them. He was in a snooker. He hasn't quite got one back, and of course he needs 3 as it stands. Oh. Dangerous. And again, Mark, yes, he's got his work cut out in a big way here, but the pink where it's gone, also handy. Getting the cue ball in behind there. These frames are very competitive, aren't they, at this level now, even in what could well be a lost cause. Mark Allen's putting everything into it.
Yes, and I think this is the kind of frame which maybe 3 or 4 seasons ago Allen would have given up. But he is a different sort of player these days. He's prepared to really dig in and scrap it out where required when the odds are against him. As he said himself, he's now got games A, B, C, D and E, although he says he feels his A game is still some way away from reappearing. But here he is in the quarterfinals again, having won 2 titles already this season, 3 last. So he's clearly doing plenty right.
Yeah, I mean, all I'll say about that, and it's a fairly quiet moment, so he probably can speak about these things, but, you know, an A game of these top players is something you would very rarely see, because that means you can just pot all the balls all the way through the match. You know, I would say O'Sullivan played his A game against Ding Junhui in the World Grand Prix recently, where he played lights out snooker, but I've seen Higgins do it, reaching Keynes the players. But you can't really strive for that, because that will only happen very occasionally. I think, you know, if you're going to go through the letters of the alphabet as Mark did, you know, the B game is still a very effective level, just below your absolute top notch. And there are certain players who are further down the list on the rankings who, if all the pots don't go in, they don't beat anybody. And that, I think, is the difference between the lower reaches of the rankings and the top players here we're seeing.
Well, that would have clearly killed it off for sure. Feels like a long time ago now that John Higgins was making that excellent 76 break off Mark Allen's missed long red. He's still hot favourite to win the frame, but while the red is up, there's still life for Mark Allen. A little nudge off the yellow has given Higgins another opportunity.
One. Yeah,
and Mark Allen
Higgins.
nods his head. So in the end, Higgins flukes the final red. But in truth, the frame was already won. Mark Allen needed 3 snookers, a very tall order. He couldn't get them. And John Higgins at 3-2. Record 5 times winner, John Higgins, back in front here on
Thank you.
day
Frame
5 of the
6.
Welsh Open.
John Higgins to break.
Excellent break of
Quiet,
76. Mark Allen tried in vain to get the 3 snookers he required. Higgins 2 frames away from the semi-finals. Looking to close the overall head-to-head in the process to 12-11. Mark Allen just 2 in front overall. Their first match was the 2005 Northern Ireland Trophy second round encounter. A lot of snooker water under the bridge since then.
Interesting, he never took on that long half-ball red there, Mark Allen. Understandably, I guess with the red up the table. But had the red not been up the table and he took it on, I think he would have got it. But it's just a different mindset. When there's a problem, it's not a shot to nothing anymore. But it's hard match play. I mean, they've both played pretty well, not at their best. But it's some of the other things that happen. Safety battles, the little nudges and shots that give you an edge over the course of a season, not necessarily in the course of a frame or match. That's where it gets interesting, and anyone watching trying to improve their match play could do worse than watch this pair. It's a beautiful shot, and there's an example of it. Leaving nothing but perhaps the red he was playing, but now it's gone in.
One.
He's going to have to make something from this chance.
Eight.
Only just made it, this red, but I suppose if he had missed it, it might have been close to the pocket, but it would have been unlucky. Problem is now, as you see, to keep the break alive, he's got to play another good shot. There's an argument that he may not go for this red to middle, but it's perhaps too much of a risk. Understand that one, because the cue ball would have probably got embedded in the middle of the bunch had he potted it anyway. So with those reds either side of the table, the left cushion and the two on the right, it just means that the safety shot from the main bunch becomes more difficult. You can hit something on the way back. Which means John might have to try something else, including a possible dart at this long pot. Couldn't get the cue ball back anyhow. That's the one thing that came of that, because of those reds scattered around.
Crowd engrossed in the action in this first quarter-final. Remember, our second features the home favourite, Dominic Dale. What a week the 52-year-old veteran is having, up against Elliot Slesser. Winner of that to play the winner of our evening match here on table 1 from 7 o'clock. Luca Brissell and Martin O'Donnell, Gary Wilson and Anthony McGill on table. And the winner of that will play the winner of this in the last 4 tomorrow.
Well, he got a long way away from it, but the worst part about it was not the pot being missed, but the cannon full ball on the green, and that's why he left a red.
One. Six.
Little trace of left-hand side to get the right side, in his case of being on the blue, It's an early in again, but it's not necessarily a big opportunity yet. Depends what he can do with this big cluster of reds, which are fairly tightly bunched at this stage. He's going from now. Problem there, and he may still be on one, was he didn't go into the bunch directly. I think he's on the end one though. He just grazed the pink, or else, and it could have took the speed out of things a little bit. But I do believe he's on a red.
$13.
Inch perfect. Again.
18.
And now the reds are slightly better because of the earlier split than they were initially. There's still some work to do. Saw a couple of reds to the right corner which may be set up for a possible plant. Those bottom two.
19.
I'm not sure if they're dead in line, but they're not. They've got the chance of making them in line because the gap between the two reds is not a small one. This was the split. If he hadn't hit the pink on the way through, I think the reds would have spread even better. Well held.
24. $25.
Yeah, we saw a little glimpse of something to the left middle, but don't believe that red was potable.
32.
John didn't think it was either. I mean, it may just creep in. But it was too close for comfort. John had a different option up his sleeve, because in playing this red, he releases the one below and to the right of it. I think his cue ball in this break has been very good. Even that little shot, not using a cushion to get top side of the blue, you can, on these fast tables, see cue ball head to a cushion very often. So that was a nice little shot. Ah, that's a nice split. Now that is what he was looking for. A little grimace, because the red to the right
38.
of the black possibly hampers him a touch, but it's still good. I mean, I can't believe he's not pleased with this opening that's come again. He's created it so well.
$39. 46.
Again, he went into them there, but with a view just to hold the cue ball more than anything, and now he'd be extremely disappointed if it wasn't a frame-winning break at the end of this. There's always something, isn't there? That red by his bridge hand, so he's a bit straighter front arm than he would usually be. But it hasn't affected him.
Shades of the start of this match with Higgins on top, making the breaks. He started with 62 54. In the first frame, 131 total clearance in the second, before Allen was able to claw his way back. But Higgins has kicked on again since then. And this time, assuming he does go on to clinch this frame, he'll be within just one of victory. And Allen has got to win the last three. Tall order. .47 the lead, 67 left. So another red colour, and red to be sure.
62.
And Mark Allen will have a lot to do.
He will, and at the moment John looks the stronger player, the better player, and there is that nagging doubt that he's been 2 up with 3 to play in matches, lost them in the past. A fairly recent past. Until he's over the line in an important match against a player who's beaten him a few times, he won't be happy.
.71.
Seems Allen's going to come back to the table this time. And I think Higgins is good value for this lead. He's been the better player throughout, really.
77.
It was a bonus for Mark Allen to come out of the mini session at 2-all. Higgins could have won the 2 frames he lost, but he's dominated the 2 frames since. That's a lovely bit of cueing.
78.
Pressure off, yes, but even so, with the spider, he made that look easy. It certainly wasn't.
Yeah, it's a pity about that. It's been a nice cannon, been a very neat break.
85.
John Higgins is monopolising the scoring in this match. 62, 131, 76 and now 85. Just 1/2 century so far from Mark Allen, who has an awful lot to do to turn this around. He trails 4-2. Mark Allen with a big yawn there as he returned to the table. He must be tired of watching John Higgins knocking in all the balls. He certainly has done since the interval breaks of 76 and 85. Allen missed a red from distance at the start of this little mini session and hasn't really had much of a look in since. And now has got to win 3 in a row. But as we know, this has been the stage of a match where in the last couple of seasons or so, John Higgins has had a few difficulties in closing things out. Can he do so today and keep alive hopes of a record-extending 6th Welsh Open title, and in the process an 84th ranking semi-final appearance?
Never easy shots, though. He wasn't that close. The double kiss has worked out a treat, actually. She's quite rare. Normally double kisses are always bad news. a decent shot. He's always going to try to finish in that corner with no way of Allen getting access to the red this side of the brown. But of course, any safety shots off other balls, playing back to bulk, are a risk, because that red just could be potable for certain places. That's why he's played that shot. He's touching ball, and John might be putting him there again. Don't think it was called as one by Colin Humphries. It's pretty close to all of them to me, but there you are. No touching ball it was. A little bit of a stalemate here. Of course, it's basically to do with that red up the table, and they're going to have a re-rack. Well, they're fair enough, I think, and that was an early shout. These two are good pals. There was no lack of communication there, so a frame that seemed like it was probably not going to go anywhere for a while is scrubbed from all records, basically.
And in the match between Anthony Hamilton and Martin O'Donnell earlier in the week, their first frame was re-racked twice, and that accounted for 58 minutes, which officially never existed.
I mean, that's a very unpleasant business, wasn't it? I saw all that, and yeah, it took a long time for anything to happen in that match. And I think, in a way, that makes me think that O'Donnell did well, because he won that match in the end from 2-0 down, and then quite late at night he beat Marco Fu, who seemed a little bit impatient. I thought, Marco, I hope he's all right. He was out-manoeuvred by O'Donnell fairly and squarely, but he was kind of running around the table, Marco, and he looked a bit uncomfortable out there, but it was late. It was almost this morning. In fact, I think it finished after midnight. They, of course, that side of the draw in action later.
Frame 7, Mark Allen to break.
So take two in frame 7 after the re-rack. Mark Allen breaking off. Point of no return for him. But he'll have memories of overturning this deficit in the Northern Ireland Open final a couple of seasons back. 8-6 down, and came through against John Higgins, who suffered a similar fate in 2 Home Nations finals that season. It happened to him at the English Open against Neil Robertson as well, and then even worse, the Tour Championship, when he was 5 up with 6 to play against Robertson and lost. But that is another cracker from long range from John Higgins. He is cueing exceptionally well.
He's putting a lot of short ones and a lot of long ones as well, which is not always a combination that goes hand in hand. You know, he's showing a good touch when he's in amongst them. And there's 2 or 3 of those into that left corner today have been fairly spectacular.
6. Seven.
just brushing off that red. But it's not left him the perfect angle on it to get onto his next colour.
14.
Yeah, because that's the problem. Not on the blacks. Queuing shot on the blue, but there's a lot riding on it with the red close at hand, just below it.
Very good.
It was interesting the way he played it, though. Sort of take the cue ball slightly away from the red. Thought he might just go lower on the cue ball and play on a red just down this end a bit more. Instead, he's got a mid-range shot, which, judging by the way he's been putting, should be okay, but they're never easy. Sort of the extension on his cue as well. Trying to run it round 2 cushions for the black. That'll do nicely.
Virtually every seat taken once again as we head towards the climax of this great Welsh Open. Mark Allen has only scored 38 points since the interval, and a few of those were academic when he was chasing Snookers. Hasn't been able to get involved since the mid-session break, even though he would undoubtedly have been the happier of the two with the 2-all scoreline, having been 2-0 behind. But in truth, he's been, to this point anyway, clearly outplayed today by Higgins. It's now down to this man to finish the job.
Just a bit of uncertainty on this shot. Does he go into them, or does he just lay onto the loose thread up the table? There's your answer. Just at these points, he doesn't want the wheel to all of a sudden fall off, and you know, this is where
28
on. There's been maybe the slight issue. As great a player as he is, on this, but now he's working with someone to stop that negativity sweeping across him.
29.
He's still doing pretty well, though, isn't he? I mean, let's be honest, all these years in the top 16, still well and truly in the 16 on the 1 year, hardly doing a lot wrong. And that is a lovely split. He deserves to be on that red, and it's thin, but he is on it.
34.
So you feel it's just one positional shot away potentially here from getting this match won.
Yeah, he's very close now, isn't he? He's actually provisionally outside of the 16 in terms of the end of season rankings right now, but of course that could change and is likely to change pretty quickly,
35.
given the amount of snooker still to come, and of course he's in the Players and very likely the Tour Championship as well, so power to add. But it's indicative of the fact that it has been a bit of a struggle for him in more recent times. Last season in particular, the season after he made all of those finals without success, was pretty barren for Higgins. This season has been very different. He's been very consistent, but he wants more than consistency. He wants the trophy. What's he landed on?
Well, it was a big shot, and he He's a bit unlucky only to have this red if that's all he has got. I thought he controlled it really nicely. I don't think he's on the red to the right corner. The problem is the two balls are close here. This has got the possibility of a push shot. Slightly queuing away from it, so maybe that won't happen. Goodness me.
41.
Camera angle so low there, it's hard to be sure about this one. But he played it gently enough for it to drop. I think that's the key. So, things have got more difficult in the last few shots. Can he keep the break going?
46.
It's not exactly now or never for John, is it? But he certainly would like to dispatch this 5-2 victory fairly quickly. Mark Allen is not thinking that one chance and I'm right back in the match. He's not had a look in for all the frames since the mid-session.
Mark Allen trying to retain his focus in the event that he gets a chance to counter in this must-win frame for him. Higgins equally aware that there's still danger in this frame. So this is a big shot and he doesn't fancy it, does he? He's been down a few times on it and got back up again.
Yeah, it's one of those that you never... These are difficult ones to tell whether they actually do go or not. And he thinks perhaps not. They were the ones I used to find the most difficult to
John Higgins,
assess, really.
46.
Ball in the way of the one you're trying to pot. 46, good break. He'll be slightly peeved that it wasn't taking him over the line, but he can't have everything. Felt it was a massive shot that he felt obliged, compelled to take on. Had it gone in, there were plenty of rewards awaiting him. What does John do? He could play safe off the red in bulk quite comfortably. Doesn't need to take a risk, 46 in front. Might think he can get the cue ball somewhere in behind the yellow, or otherwise just keep things completely watertight. Interesting shot he played there. Didn't try anything flash by any means. Just trying to hold the advantage, I think. Make things awkward for Mark Allen.
Can maybe just detect a trace of stress in Higgins at the moment, eager to get this over with. Fed up at the near misses that he's encountered of late.
Yes, and he knows that the man he's playing will not be giving up. You know, he's tasted success. He's lifted 2 titles this season. One of them the shootout, of course, the other one the champion of champions. He's more used to winning at this point in his career than John has been. Of course, we know John is a great champion. He's won everything multiple times, but we're talking about the last 3 years since that Players' Championship where he was superb. John's he's missed out a few times, a couple of times to this man. Let's be honest, at the latter stages of events. Cue ball. Will John be tempted by this long straight red to left corner? You might feel that with the red by the black, it was making the shot that sends the cue ball to the black cushion more of a viable option. It's more about the red that you miss if you miss it that you're playing. Certainly making Mark Allen earn any possible in back into the frame himself, because he's giving him nothing. Well, this time he's taking this red on. Very good. He had the safety net, if you like, of taking the cue ball away.
One.
Away from all the reds, all the action, if you like. Now can he get to the pink? That's tight, isn't it? Goodness. Don't think he can. Not to pot it. And the right side as we were looking. We might need a trace left down side on this, yeah. Just to widen the angle. Definitely played it the side. The natural angle was not to be able to pot it. He's not nicely on a red.
7.
Another red, very similar to that one that he was further away from, of course. And this is grinding him closer and closer to the winning line.
Edging his way, isn't he? But all that matters for Higgins is getting over the line, getting himself into the semi-finals at the expense of a player who has given him headaches in recent times, has beaten him twice this season, including a final frame decider at the Masters. The lead goes to 59, 75 left.
13.
So 2 more reds, and Higgins should be home and dry. But he's overcut the red, so he's not there yet.
13.
Yes, it was getting more difficult, wasn't it? It felt by the shot, but it's not as difficult as it must feel for Mark Allen right now. A lot of the attention is on John, but he's 4-2 up, 59-0 up, and he's very much in command. It'll take quite an effort for Mark Allen from here. Can't pop one at this visit even, refusing the red down the cushion. But bringing the black into play the next time.
And now there's only 67 left.
One.
Yeah, so what does he do? Clearly, Mark Allen can win mathematically, although nothing's coming his way. Brown is going to be welded to the side cushion, I think, here.
John Higgins.
Not achieved it, though. Definitely what he played. See that quite a lot. Players do not quite get the ball safe when they try and directly put it onto a cushion like that.
Mark Allen really is teetering on the brink now. 60 behind, 2 down with 3 to play.
Yeah, even though the brown isn't completely safe, you know, where the yellow, green and brown are, sort of suggests that there's no real chance of a clearance. You'd have to do it in instalments, I think, to get back into this. John just trying to get everything on a cushion. And why not? The problem, of course, here is that Mark will clearly take that red straight back off. He's not done very well, to be honest. Red that John can take on. Thin to the right corner again, like so many others. This one is more difficult than the other pair that he chipped in earlier in the frame, but ultimately it would mean frame ball, match ball. Well, he had taken a red off the cushion because he overcut it. Feels very tense, doesn't it, this scenario? John should feel very comfortable in this position, of course, but as we've said before, he's lost matches of this nature. But it feels almost like a decider. It's a very good pop. So, the chance has come.
One.
No one is saying it's an easy one, but it is the first chance that John's given him for a while. Well, he's very disappointed there. He's finished in the one place where nothing goes. He obviously played on the low red, but quite a long way out, positionally. I mean, I think that will be a massive frustration because his cue ball control is usually immaculate, but he's way out, being on the red he meant to be on.
Mark Allen, 6.
Was a chance to at least apply some pressure to Higgins, but just 6 points, and Higgins is only 1 pot away from victory, barring Snookers. 54 the lead, 59 there, so were Higgins to pot another red, Allen would need 1 4-point snooker to tie.
Yes, I mean, of course, Mark Allen's positional shot was not good, but it doesn't help that you've not seen a ball for all that time. Sort of table time and also actual time, just sitting in your chair, John knocking in long balls and then killing off frames quickly.
The longest frame of the match so far at nearly 28 minutes, and you can feel that final frame sort of tension, as Neil mentioned, even though on the face of it Higgins is in a very comfortable position, but given recent history he won't feel that way until frame is won, and with it a place in the last 4 of the Welsh Open.
Well, this time, I wonder if John has got the shot at the red. Closest to the right corner. Can he get through to it? Well, I don't know about that. Whether it pots or not, maybe. Possibly the other red's in this way. It's touch and go. He's dropping into the back of it.
Confirmation, the longest frame so far. Higgins tantalisingly close to winning it, and with it the match, but still one pot away from leaving Allen needing snookers.
Well, he went for it, didn't he? He went for everything there. All or nothing, and I think it's the latter. If the red goes, he's virtually done and dusted here. And John Higgins has been patient. He's waited. I think, in a way, almost Mark Allen's patience ran out there.
One frame and a match.
That's
John
it.
Higgins.
John Higgins keeps alive hopes of a record-extending 6th Welsh Open title. He's outplayed Mark Allen today pretty comprehensively, particularly since the interval. He dominated the last 3 frames, and he's into his 84th ranking semi-final. Is this the week that Higgins breaks his 3-year ranking title drought? He beats Mark Allen by 5 frames to 2. He's into the last 4.